Welcome to Decoding Multifamily, a video podcast that explores different aspects of multifamily operations and takes a deep dive into the important topics that affect the apartment industry. Watch as co-hosts Suzanne Hopson and Paul Marks engage with multifamily thought leaders, rising multifamily superstars, and apartment industry icons. Decoding is defined as the process of extracting meaningful and useful information. So watch closely as we begin Decoding Multifamily.
Well, welcome to Decoding Multifamily, a podcast where we take a little deeper dive into what's going on in the multifamily operations world. I have with me my co-host, the great Suzanne Hopson, a wonderful, longtime multifamily industry veteran. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you, Paul. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so I do want to, before we jump into with our great guests that we have, I do want to mention to the viewers that there is a opportunity for them to go and look at other podcasts similar to this, because we are part, and very proud to be part, of the Multifamily Media Network, which has some great podcasts and podcasters that have been cultivated and curated through the media network. For instance, we've got Rooms with Ronald, Uncharted Conversations with Ronald Harrington about leasing, Thriving in Multifamily, a visionary podcast from Lacey Daniels, Leading Your Culture with Bill Nye. Everybody knows Bill Nye. Of course, Mike Brewer's Multifamily Collective is part of the network. Paul Rhodes with Maintenance Mindset, also PX Multifamily, which is People Experience Podcast featuring Mary Gwynn. So what a lineup. I know you know and have worked with and follow all these folks. Suzanne, what do you think about it?
I'm really excited, and just the total brain trust and just the amazing topics that are being covered and the lights that are being shed on just what's important today in multifamily. It's just an exciting time. So yeah, really, really, really excited.
And I'll add, if you want to listen to those podcasts or find out more, you can go to the website at multifamilymedianetwork.com. And there's some exciting things happening. There'll be more podcasters added who are up-and-coming leaders within the industry, as well as some industry icons. So keep your finger on the pulse, subscribe so you get the weekly newsletter on which podcasts are available, and something that I think is going to really kind of help the industry to educate and inform up-and-coming multifamily folks, as well as people who've been in the industry for a while, and give them that platform for that free education and the perspectives of some of the leaders in the industry. So again, Multifamily Media Network. But let's jump into our program today with our guest. Why don't you introduce our guest? I'll bring him in while you're doing that.
Wonderful. Thanks, Paul. Really proud and honored to be able to bring this person to today's podcast. His name is Andrew Kuhn. He is the founder and CEO of Sunrise Communities out of Detroit. And there's a long list of his accomplishments, but we're going to talk about all that today, decoding Andrew Kuhn and Sunrise Communities and how that relates to multifamily. So welcome, Andrew.
Hey,
yes,
Andrew.
thank you, Suzanne. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Doing good. It's great to have you on the show. You obviously are compared to me, much younger person when it comes to being in multifamily. So to get the perspectives of the people that are established but up and coming as well, the next generation of leadership, I think, is great. So I know that you and Suzanne have known each other and worked together. So Suzanne, why don't you ask Andrew some of the questions that you think some of our viewers would like to know?
Well, I think one of the things that when I met Andrew that I found really intriguing about him was just his fresh approach and honesty. And so I'd like to talk to you a little bit, Andrew, about what it says on your LinkedIn. I'm just going to start there, and maybe you can tell me a little bit about why you put this in your profile. But you say, husband, front row dad first, before you mentioned multifamily owner and operator. So tell me a little bit about that, Andrew, and why you did that.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Suzanne. Didn't know we were going to be talking about my LinkedIn profile, but would love to. So a little bit, as I mentioned in my LinkedIn profile, I'm a husband first and a father of two beautiful daughters, Ava and Zoe. 6.5, 3.5, going on 16 and 13. So navigating those waters, right? And so if I had to zoom out, one, they're the most important in my life. We have core values for our family, and family in my top three personally, we've done the work, and the exercise for us are family, health, and growth. And so family for us is a priority in everything. And so that's why it comes first in my LinkedIn profile. All the other stuff, the real estate stuff, the business, and all of that is, kind of what I wrap around the family schedule, because at the end of the day, right, like you have very important things that need priority, and family, and doing the inner work, and quite honestly pouring into that first is the most important thing, because I've known too many people. I've been doing this 17 years now, Suzanne, and I've seen all different types of entrepreneurs, right? I've seen multi-billionaire people with unbelievable amounts of units and big business success, but they're winning in that one area of life, but they're divorced or their kids don't want to talk to them. And at that point, I ask myself, is that really truly success, right? And so, personally, philosophically, the way that we built this company is that we want people successful in all areas. And we can talk about that, but that goes into the culture and, being a mission-driven company, and why you structure things as you do. So,
yeah.
Andrew, you have what I consider a very interesting backstory of how you got into multifamily. It was kind of a not a direct route into multifamily. You kind of took a similar road, but it forked into multifamily. Talk a little bit about that, because I think there's some viewers that might find that interesting and something that maybe they can identify with.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. Interesting, this story. So growing up, I always wanted to serve people, right? And one of the best ways growing up, middle income family, cornfields of Ohio. I graduated with like 120 kids, and all you knew was everybody, was born in a town. They grew up in a town. They got a job there. And that was their whole existence. And so I went to college, and I was a pre-med undergrad, thinking that I was going to be in the medical field, and played college athletics. I was lucky enough to play college athletics. And our team physician, who was an orthopedic surgeon, I was like, hey, I may want to do what you do. By the way, career advice for all those undergrads out there: go shadow what you want to do in advance before you, commit to it. And I spent a week with him. And so I spent a week in the operating room with procedures and kind of seeing patients and all this stuff. And I'll never forget it. But basically what had happened was two pivotal things my sophomore year of college. Number one, I was in the operating room with him and seeing the life that he had built. And he built this big business. And it goes back to kind of like why we built this company. This physician, he has a big business, but he was really frustrated because he's missing his kid's championship basketball game. And it was like, Andrew, you really need to think about, the life that you're going to go into and the path, because here I am. He was just having a very bad day. We'll put it that way. And he was like, you need to think about this. And so that really made me reflect and kind of actually redirected my path after college. I started out in the medical device space, in the sales space. But at the same time, I had a friend that gave me a book, a little book. A lot of people, you've probably heard it before, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the little purple book, people call it. And that's what I call the light bulb book, right? It was one of those pivotal things, those messages that I was searching for. I was in my undergrad, and it taught me that I could be a business owner. And obviously it talks about real estate, and I always liked Monopoly growing up. And so that kind of started the path, right? And so I ended up telling my mom and dad, look, I'm not going to medical school. I'm moving to Detroit from Ohio and starting a real estate company. And the first thing they're like, oh my gosh, is that safe to go up there? Because they had never been. I mean, small town, they never really got out of their area. And they're like, and the other question is like, are you crazy? And so that kind of started the path. I got into medical device sales. And at first, I started in the single family space. Part of it was because in this was the early 2000s. So I graduated undergrad in 2005. The news back then was like, well, very inexpensive houses in Michigan and Metro Detroit. And when you're 21 with, no job, no income, no connections, you got to kind of figure things out. And so I moved up there, and really that started the journey of the single family space, which eventually we built a portfolio, started with a house, then a dozen houses, then it grew, to a sizable amount of houses. And quite honestly, it wasn't until 2017 when we had hit, probably 150, 200 houses that I realized, and I was introduced to the multifamily operators. And that was really a big pivotal moment for me, because that was really the way that I realized I could make a difference and build a business of scale. So yeah, sorry, it's a long, winding journey, but I really want you to hear it because it is important.
Well, I want one more comment, and then I want Suzanne to certainly jump in. But what's fascinating to me is you just said you started in multifamily, transitioning from the single family to multifamily in 2017, and today in 2024, you're president of the apartment association, the state apartment association in Michigan. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it is, quite honestly. It's, so the Apartment Owners Association of Michigan is a unique association. So statewide, we represent about 200,000 units of multifamily apartment owners across the state. And, we have, small mom and pop owners all the way up to our largest members, about 85,000 units across 19 states. So represent on the legislative front. We do a lot of advocacy work in this space, and it really is. It's been a great journey, and I'm very honored to be able to serve in that capacity.
Suzanne, ask some of the questions I know you've got.
Well, I want to just stick here for 1 second, because I think this is really relevant, and maybe you can decode this a little bit, Andrew. Some of the challenges that you are seeing in the space regarding that legislation, like what are we tackling right now from your perspective?
Yeah, no, great question. And it's interesting. So another short story. So early on, I realized one of the strategies to get ahead in life is to be of service and to provide as much value for others as you can, right? And so as soon as I was able to acquire our first apartment complex, and I joined the association, then I started volunteering for board positions, and the immediate past president had served his 3-year term, and they had kind of looked around the boardroom and are like, well, you're the only guy without gray hair on it yet, so we think it's time you get some. And so I stepped into that spot last July, and they also conveniently forgot to tell me that we would be facing a more challenging legislative slate than we've seen in 40 years. And so recently, this last year, following the national agenda, there had been a renters bill of rights that had been proposed in the state of Michigan, which really had a lot of anti-housing regulation in it, everything from rent control to the proposal to not be able to use the FICO tenant credit scoring to actually judge the credit score of a resident for being able to be accepted. Same thing on the criminal background check. And so what I found, because I spend a lot of my time now speaking with state representatives and senators, is that there's a lot of challenging headwinds in certain states within this space currently that's going to change legislative and make it more regulated. And quite honestly, at the end of the day, it's going to hurt a lot of the small mom and pop operators if the right people don't step up to have a voice. Because what we found is in these conversations, there's a lot of well-intended policies that will be drafted, but they don't oftentimes have the expertise of housing knowledge of housing professionals like us that live and breathe it every day to understand the unintended consequences, right? And so it's a very challenging environment. Knock on wood, we've done very well this last year in the state of Michigan in regards to navigating the waters, but it is a challenge, and it's here to stay.
Yeah. So I'm really hearing that, being involved and having that voice and being knowledgeable in the space about what's happening is important. Yeah.
100%. Like, people used to be able to get by just tucking their head in the sand and just kind of going about their business. But the reality is like housing is an economic issue, and it's a national economic issue. And so we need to be educated, be informed, speak up, reach out to our representatives, talk, explain the unintended consequences, and really get active in helping to shape and draft legislation that does help, advance the industry and not hinder it. Because look, we're already running into a housing crisis with supply. One of the things is, quite honestly, red tape is up to 30% of housing costs just for new build development anyways. And so we got to make it easier to add more supply, not restrict it, quite honestly.
Yeah, I hear that. So do you mind if I keep going, Paul? Because I do want to ask
Yeah.
a question. I want to totally switch gears. Thank you. So you belong to another organization, and I want to talk a little bit about that and how that has shaped maybe some of the decisions you've made or pathways you've taken. And that's EO, so the Entrepreneurs Organization. Can you talk a little bit about that, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. So EO, or Entrepreneurs Organization, is a global nonprofit. We have about 16,000 members globally. And the mission is just basically to improve humanity by maximizing human potential through entrepreneurship, which is great because in the in the residential housing space, there's a tremendous amount of entrepreneurs out there, right? So there are entrepreneurs that start companies, there are intrapreneurs, we call them, that work within organizations but are very entrepreneurial. And this organization is phenomenal because it's networking, it's a support system. We just got done judging a college entrepreneurial award for our local chapter here in Detroit that I'm currently the president of. It's a phenomenal group for the business owner that may not have a network or a kind of a peer group that they can share their wins, their losses, their struggles. And so, and it does a lot of good. And so it's an amazing organization. It was one of the best decisions I've made in probably the last 7 or 8 years because of what it has provided us in our life. But it's also, and this is quite honestly, this is kind of like our company. We call it a carry your own bag organization, which means like it is a gym, not a spa. Like if you want to come and think that you're just going to be there and not do anything, like it's not going to be for you. But if you put in value, if you bring value, reciprocity, karma, whatever you want to call it, it comes back in spades to you. And it's an amazing group of people. So.
Nice. Okay,
Right.
Paul, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
So Andrew, you talked about the fact that in your path to multifamily, which really started in 2017, you went through the single family route. Talk a little bit about where you are today. Let's talk about your company, what you built it to today. And you said you've been doing this for 17 years. You really look like you're about 17 years old. So you've got I'm sure you've got a long career ahead of you, but where are you today?
Yeah, good question. That's one of the benefits of living in Michigan is we don't get a tremendous amount of sun. So like I don't age as quickly as some of my peers. But I will say it's been interesting because even though I've only been in multifamily since 2017 and kind of riding this last cycle, being in the residential housing space since 2007 was a great lesson, right? Because again, housing is a cyclical business. And as we move into this space, we're seeing a challenging rate environment. And so people are having to pivot. The fundamentals are the same. And so with Sunrise, what we've built is really a mission-driven company that's out there to change and improve people's lives. Our target, our 10-year target, our BHAG, people call it, is we want to be a 25,000 unit owner, operator, and manager of residential real estate. Our investment thesis is we love the Midwest. I don't know if you saw, but Jay Parsons, RealPage economist, really well known and respected in the industry. We had Jay in for our last annual update in November, and now they're kind of trumpeting the Midwest. And we're Michigan. We're a true Midwest-based company, primarily in Michigan, cash flow states, but looking to expand more regionally to Ohio and Indiana. Like this is kind of our sandbox, right? We love cash flowing, value add, and quite honestly, bringing life back to properties, right? From an investment standpoint. And that's kind of the investment thesis is cash flowing Midwest residential properties that we can, breathe life back into them and create a sense of community. But from a company standpoint, I think that's the bigger part, right? When I say we're a mission driven company, the thesis is this, that especially with one of the biggest challenges people have today, which is getting good talent, bringing quality people, rock stars on your team. You really have to stand for something as a company. You can't be there to just be like, oh, I'm the same old property management company. Like, you really have to create a company with a big enough vision that helps all the people in your organization reach their goals within it, right? And so, for example, we actually just onboarded a new maintenance technician this week, and he had worked at several of the local operators around here. We were doing his onboarding the other day. And in this session, we talk about kind of the benefits and of being a member of Sunrise. And just on the uniforms, we like to be professional. And so our maintenance technicians, we end up giving them, like, to start out, 7 different shirts, a hat, a winter jacket, a annual stipend for boots and protective wear, as well as tools. And also for our scatter site team, or our specialized team that do kind of roaming maintenance, we also have vehicles, as well as a very sizable benefits program, right? And so the point is that we're creating an organization that's a destination organization where your life is improved, whether you're a resident in one of our communities or you're one of our team members, and your career can go as far as you want it within this company. And so that's really the difference, right? Because again, the top talent wants to go somewhere where they can be built up and achieve their goals, and not just be another cog in a wheel. And so that was kind of the underlying basis of why we built the company the way we did.
And just for clarification purposes for our viewers, you not only do you have owner managed properties, you also do some third party as well, correct?
We do. Yes, I do. And part of that was, well, there were 2 reasons for that. With the current aspects of where we are in the market cycle, number one, we've been able to really dig deep on systems and processes to kind of build in workflows that will optimize in the challenging environment we're in. I believe over the next couple of years, a lot of the poor operators that don't have unbelievable systems are going to face some challenges. And we already have challenges we can't control, from payroll increases to taxes to insurance going crazy in certain areas. So you really have to evolve as a company to be really a next generation company, right? Because not only do your residents are what I call Amazon renters. They want everything now. They want digital, they want technology, and they want service. Like, that's their understanding. And so you almost have to craft your company to be able to do that. And not kind of be stuck in the old stodgy ways. And so we've realized that we're pretty good operators of multifamily assets, and, we're working to be world class. And so we know that we can help other owners out there on that path.
I think doesn't that also help you scale your ability?
It absolutely does.
Technologies and so forth.
Yeah,
I mean, it
absolutely does.
It's a win-win, I think.
It is a win-win, and not only with, right. So, Paul, another philosophy that we have is if it's a win-win, if it's not a win-win, we won't do it. And so, with other operators, our goal is to scale, and quite honestly, our goal is to scale by doing the right things, meaning the right processes. And by doing third party in this time, we get what I call reps and revenue. So not only do we get revenue to be able to hire the right people, pay them above average wages for the industry, and make a great place for them to work. The other thing that we get is we get reps. So the more properties we can onboard, so we have core values in our company, right? We're an EOS company. If anybody's read the book Traction by Gino Wickman, core values are what we base everything after. And one of our 4 core values is better every day, which means continuous improvement in our systems. So the more properties we can onboard faster, the better we can improve those systems. And it's kind of like a flywheel that it keeps going faster and faster as we build momentum. So.
One other question, and then I'm going to let Suzanne kind of wrap it up. But you mentioned core values, and I can see over your right shoulder a huge sign that says "Your comfort zone will kill you." Tell me how that plays into your philosophy and your values.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Right. So I'll run through our core values and I'll tell you about that real quick. So our core values are together we win. We're going to go farther as a team than we would individually. Do the right thing. So we always expect people to do the right thing, regardless of if it's in our best benefit or not as a management company. Because quite honestly, the beautiful thing is as owner operators, we're not optimizing for profit as a management company. We're optimizing for bottom line NOI on properties. That's doing the right thing. And it's kind of one of the unique things that we have. We also, our third one is whatever it takes, which means our team members go above and beyond to deliver a win-win for everybody and then better every day. So those are the core values that we use as a filtering process for hiring, for making decisions in our business and everything else. The other thing about being better every day or continual growth, and I mentioned it earlier, is that we have three core values as a family, right? So I do EOS for my family. So my wife and I have a meeting every Sunday, and I said family, health, and growth. The reality is our belief system is that you're either growing or you're dying, like most natural things in this world. And the reality is that growing can be painful. Growing means breaking of systems and evolving and getting stronger. Same thing when you're in the gym, you're actually breaking down muscle fibers and then, they get bigger. And there's a multitude of ways that pays out. And so sitting in your comfort zone is never going to help you achieve the goals that you want growth-wise. And so it's a constant reminder, environment's everything. And so if I panned around, you'd see, motivational signs and just kind of reminders of triggering the right environment that we want to be in here. And so there's a lot of intention, both implied and, said and not said, but yeah, your comfort zone will kill you if you don't get outside of it, especially if you're a growth-minded individual. So.
Suzanne, I've got one more follow-up to that, and then I'm going to let you go. But every time you say something, it brings another question to mind. You said one of your core values for the company is do the right thing.
Yeah.
Can you give our viewers an example of where you feel, because multifamily properties and management companies sometimes get a bad rap because they're looking at the bottom line, the residents, cause residence issues and so forth. Give us an example of somewhere where you believe one of your team members did the right thing that may not have come naturally to someone else.
No, absolutely. So doing the right thing. So we have these things called core value shout outs, and it's actually part of our weekly, what we call L10s. It's part of the EOS operating system. And so do the right thing is one of our common core value shout outs that we give to people. So for example, it could be anything from employees staying after hours to my property management team helping out with accounting or doing something that they need help with, to actually just the other day, we had a very new hire and we needed some help getting one of our owners through all their rental inspections. He went above and beyond, went out to the city inspector, was able to actually convince them to actually go through and do the entire site in one inspection, because they actually wanted to do individual inspections on every single individual unit lease up, and which, would have caused, 15, 20 different trips, which is insane, but that's a whole other issue. And going above and beyond to do the right thing for not only for the company, but also for our other owners that we manage for, right? Same thing. We're a very transparent company. We do not have any markups on any of our fees, on any payroll or anything, because again, I'm optimizing for something else, Paul. I'm optimizing for scale, and we're also owners. And so my deal is that we are very transparent. We have a flat fee structure, and it makes it better for the owners too, because they get the ultimate result, which at the end of the day is also a win-win for everybody. So that's a couple examples. Hope it wasn't too many.
That's great. Look, if I could stand the cold of coming to Michigan, I'd fill out an application. But unfortunately,
I'll pay. Come up here during the summer, Paul. I don't know if you've ever been to Michigan during the summer, especially northern Michigan, but it's unbelievable. It's a reason why people in Michigan don't travel during the summer outside the state. So,
all right. Well, Suzanne, we've got about 3 minutes left with Andrew before we wrap things up. So go ahead and ask some more questions here.
Yeah, well, the one that now is burning for me is really, Andrew, if you were to have a group of young entrepreneurs or people that are considering coming into multifamily, how would you give them, what would you say to them? What kind of advice would you give them on how to be successful in this?
No, great question, Suzanne. I absolutely love it, because it's the information I wished I would have had when I started, right? And so there's a couple pieces to it. Number one, get started. It has never been easier to get information than it is today. Again, I'm kind of that. So I'm 40, about to be 41. I'm that last generation that had a analog growing up and then evolved into a digital as I kind of went through my educational years. And so with the abundance of podcasts like this, the abundance of information out there, get educated, get started, go do an internship. Do multiple internships, especially during your college years, your undergraduate years, if you can. Understand the space. Ask for lunch with successful people in your market, and figure out how you can add value. Dale Carnegie said, "If you help enough people get what they want in this world, you'll have everything you want." And if you go through life with a mindset of being a servant leader and just bringing value wherever you go, I promise you, it's going to give you the experience, and you're going to be way farther ahead to be successful in this space. And so, those are kind of some of the things that I looked at. One other thing real quick, just because, again, I want the listeners to take as much away. Jim Rohn once quoted, he's a famous motivational speaker. His claim to fame was he was Tony Robbins' mentor. And, he said, if you work on your job, you'll create a living. If you work on yourself, you'll create a future and a life. And so, make sure you work harder on yourself and your personal development and your growth, because that nature, that person is so rare today that you're going to separate yourself from everybody else. So have that mindset, keep at it, keep going, and understand it's quite a roller coaster of a ride, but it's worth it. And that's what makes life worthwhile.
Nice.
Great advice.
Great advice, Andrew. Thank you for sharing that and sharing your time with us today. It's been really awesome.
Andrew, if someone wants to reach out to you, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So email is probably the best way, or our website, and go to our company website. So Sunrise Communities, which is www.gosunrise.com, GOSUNRISE.com. Super simple. Or you can just email me at andrew@gosunrise.com. So that's the best way for people to reach out. And I'd love to talk to your audience, see how I can help them.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew. We're going to finish up here with a couple of final comments, but look forward to seeing you hopefully at some of the conferences that are coming up in 2024.
You bet you will. Thanks again, Paul. I appreciate you. Yep.
Thanks,
see you,
Andrew.
Suzanne. Bye.
Thanks, Andrew. Bye.
Suzanne, that was great. Andrew is really an inspiration for somebody so young. I mean, he's just turning 40. To be able to do some of the things that he's done is great. And I know you're familiar with this company, that they must be, really kind of tearing things up in that part of the country.
They really are. And you can see what really sets him apart, right? And he mentioned what those things were at the end as advice for those up and coming professionals and rising stars in our space. And it's just exciting to watch. There's many more out there. But I feel really, really happy that we were able to find Andrew and highlight him.
And we'll be talking to him here on Decoding Multifamily. I do want to remind everybody again, Decoding Multifamily is part of the Multifamily Media Network. Go to multifamilymedianetwork.com. You can subscribe to the weekly newsletters, get podcasts just like this, as well as podcasts from other industry greats like Lacey Daniels, Ronald Harrington, Paul Rhodes, Bill Nye, Mary Gwynn, and of course Mike Brewer, and more to come. So feel free to really kind of learn each one of those. If you have an interest in maintenance, go watch Paul Rhodes' podcast, or leasing. Ronald Harrington. He's got a lot of the answers. So anyway, I know you know all those folks, and I think they're going to do a great job in providing information and education to the folks in the industry.
Agreed, Paul.
Okay. Well, we'll be back again with the next episode soon. Thanks for tuning in to Decoding Multifamily. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Decoding Multifamily video podcast, and please tune in to future episodes. If you would like to subscribe to our weekly newsletter or discuss being a podcast guest on Decoding Multifamily, please go to multifamilymedianetwork.com. Thank you for watching Decoding Multifamily.